For those of you out there who do not understand the term conflict profiteer, let me explain. A conflict profiteer is somebody who, or an entity, it doesn't have to be one person, it can be an entire company, group, whatever, who profits from conflict. In other words, from situations that are not born out of peaceful, nonviolent resolution of conflict, but situations that are born out of war, crime, and corruption. People who profit from war, who profit from crime, who profit from corruption are conflict profiteers. Their purpose is to make money off the short-term horrors and suffering of the world. They are not ethical capitalists by any means. I consider myself to be an ethical capitalist. I also happen to be a social democrat, but not of the extreme left, not even of the left really, because social democracy is often a misunderstood term. To me, social democracy means a combination of capitalism and some degree of socialism without the nationalism and without corruption, of course. And to me, social democracy means that the government has a role to play in protecting us, the average citizen, to protect society from the abuses of a minority of people, especially from any possible abuses by those who have tremendous wealth. The rich, the wealthy, they are able to fend for themselves. They have the money. But the little guys, the little people, have to have the government on their side. Is that the case today in most Western societies? Probably not. Unfortunately, that's not the way it should be. So I'm a social democrat, but I am a capitalist. Because I do think that without capitalism, you do not have individual human freedom, rights, privilege. You have nothing. All you are is a tool in somebody else's agenda. That's what fascism is. Fascism is pseudo-capitalism. It's a form of plutocratic capitalism that serves a very small number of people against the interest of the majority. Real capitalism, ethical capitalism, is supposed to serve the overall interest of the vast majority of people. And real capitalism and social democracy are not incompatible. They are compatible. They work perfectly well together. And we can see that for example, in Norway. Never mind the recent incident that happened there. That's an aberration. But generally speaking, Norway, to a lesser extent Sweden, the Benelux countries, Denmark, these Scandinavian countries, for the most part, are social democracies. Even the right-wing ones are still internally more social democratic than not. For example, in the case of Denmark. But anyway, let's not discuss that because that gets to be complicated. Again, back to conflict profiteerers, conflict profiteering people and entities. When people are conflict profiteers, they speculate on things in the market that benefit from war, from instability, from all kinds of problems. And a prime example of what conflict profiteers might do is buy and sell gold. Invest and get others to invest in gold, not just gold, but in silver, in platinum, in any rare metals that have a potential to appreciate greatly in value when soft currencies and when paper currencies go down in value. Especially major currencies like the US dollar and the euro. The current world economic or global financial crisis that we are now suffering from, and which in some ways borders on the line of a major depression, if not in some ways is a major depression. It depends who you are. If you're among the wealthier people in the world, then it's not been so bad lately. But for most people, this is really catastrophic what's been going on. It's destroying innumerous numbers of lives, their plans, their hopes, their futures. We're talking about how people who were middle class only a few years ago, before 2008, are now no longer middle class. Millions of people. And when you have societies, like the United States and Europe, when you have more and more people joining the ranks of the new poor, of the what you could say upper level poor, from being middle class to being poor. When you have less of a middle class, that endangers democracy and endangers the whole system. So some people in the world are conflict profiteers, and they want this to happen. They are invested in the idea that the majority of people are just there to make profit off. And they don't care about the welfare of society as a whole. They don't care about middle class people. I was just giving you a general idea of what conflict profiteers, conflict profiteering people are and entities are like. Conflict profiteering is disgusting. It's totally unethical. It's like, you go to a doctor. If he's an unethical doctor, he doesn't want to cure your illness. He doesn't even want to give you the right therapy if possible. He wants to prolong your illness by giving you the least amount of medication. But ultimately, he doesn't care if you die as a result of your illness, because he wants to profit while you're still alive. That's what a conflict profiteer is like. It's like a bad doctor. A good doctor wants to do everything possible to make you well again. And if they can't make you as well as you were before you got ill, at least they want to reduce your suffering. They want to diminish your suffering and make you feel better. That's a good ethical doctor. A good ethical doctor wants to save lives, and not just save them in terms of numbers, but they want to improve the quality of the life of the people that they save. An unethical doctor, it might be somebody who, for example, refuses to give a poor girl a safe abortion because they say that abortion is somehow against the will of God or whatever. That's an example. Abortions are not a good thing, of course, but if you're pregnant because of a mistake or a rape or some terrible misunderstanding, whatever, or even if whatever, you just don't want to have the child that's in you, the unborn, then you should have a right to do that. Human laws have to be based on independent, free-living persons, not on dependent life forms. If we were to allow laws to be based on the principle of dependent life forms, then there's a lot of things that would really make no sense. We would have to make it illegal, for example, to basically allow anybody any privacy, because we'd have to know for sure that they're not harming their unborn. And I don't want to even go into the idea of how that would affect other aspects of our lives. Basically speaking, conflict profiteers, they find divisive issues and they feed on it. You notice certain politicians who claim to be, by the way, libertarians and liberal or whatever, and yet they are conflict profiteers. One recently, I won't mention his name, said that if a patient was somehow poor and had not put away money or had not paid into an insurance scheme, and he was dying of an illness, then so be it, let him die. That's not the way that an ethical person should respond. We need to have a society that protects the least of us and our rights as individuals. If you don't have rights as an individual, if you don't have rights as an individual person, then you don't have rights for anybody.